These are the must-watch shows of fall 2023. With 2023 full of top contenders like Vinland Saga, JJK, and Oshi no Ko, this fall season might seem like an afterthought, but don't make the mistake of sleeping on this upcoming season. It has some anime that I've been looking forward to for years, and hopefully they'll turn out to be top contenders too. As always, I made sure to mix things up on this list. While it might feel fantasy heavy, each fantasy offers something that feels completely different. After that, I picked a battle shonen, something everyone can get behind as anime fans. Then I picked one anime that became an instant classic in its first season. And finally, one rom-com that everyone's been telling me to check out. So without further ado, let's start off the list with the first of the two fantasy series, Shangri-la Frontier. If you follow me, then you know that I'm a big fan of Shangri-la Frontier. I mentioned it before in my list of series that will make anyone a manga fan, and for good reason. Shangri-la Frontier is also the perfect series for anyone that loves video games. As someone who loves video games, I was sold when my friends started to tell me about it. Shangri-La Frontier follows a guy who spends his free time playing broken video games and finding ways to beat them. When the hot new virtual MMO Shangri-La Frontier comes out, he hops on it right away and instantly falls in love with it. And that's it. No overcomplicated plots about the game turning into real life, well, at least not as far as I know. I'm not exactly caught up on the manga. But it's just plain simple fun. I'd say the magic of Shangri-La Frontier is that it perfectly captures that feeling you get when you slowly fall in love with a game. It has a mysterious opening that pulls you in, it has progression systems that the characters can experiment with, a living world that seems like it's filled with content just about everywhere you look, NPCs that you can't afford to run past because they all have interesting backstories that build the game's lore, items that also help to tell the game's story that remind you of the Soulsborne series. It's a story with all the same tropes of a fantasy series, but with all the magic of playing video games. It is the single best manga when it comes to series about video games, which is why everyone will love it. My only concern right now is the final product. There are a lot of intense fights in the series, which means they will need some decent animation. The anime is apparently being done by C2C. As far as I can tell, they don't have anything too big under their belt, but the trailers look good so far. At the moment, there's no reason to really worry. All we can do for now is keep our fingers crossed and see whether Shangri-La Frontier will meet these massive expectations. But speaking of massive expectations, let's move on to the next series. Actually, before I do that, make sure to like the video if you're enjoying it so far. It's the easiest way to support the channel, and it helps spread the video to other viewers like you. Now, like I was saying, this is a series that has slowly become one of the biggest names in Shonen Jump, is largely considered one of, if not the best new-gen manga, and has been one of my personal favorites for a few years now. This is Undead Unluck. Undead Unluck is a lot of things. It's a new-gen series that at times is reminiscent of old-school Dragon Ball. It's praised as having one of the best female protagonists in manga, and yet somehow felt like it was going to be cancelled in its very first chapter. It's a lot of things for a lot of people, so I'm going to try my best to explain how it's become so popular, and why people are already dying to see it. Undead Unluck is a battle series. It's a Shonen Jump manga with all of the usual tropes, but it offers a lot of things that help build its own unique personality as well. For example, one of the things you'll often hear people praise the series for is its power system. The world of Undead Unluck is inhabited by negators. Basically, a negator can somehow undo a law of the natural world. For example, our two main characters, Andy and Fuko, have the powers of Undead and Unluck. Andy is undying, and Fuko can grant bad luck onto the people around her. The premise of each power, as you can see, is pretty simple, but it's the creative application of these powers that makes for iconic battles that'll remind you of JoJo's and Hunter x Hunter. Beyond that, Undead Unluck is a story that is full of unforgettable characters. See, if you're a fan of the series, then you need to make these kinds of puns. Just trust me. Anyway, each of the characters has a tragic backstory, and they all make you cry, laugh, and cheer for them. This is especially true for Fuko, who definitely has the most character growth in the series and slowly grows into a position of leadership among the characters. These characters come together in a wacky, lovable chemistry that inevitably pulls you in and makes this world one of your favorites. Before I say anything else, I can't forget to mention that this anime is being done by David Productions. arguably the best anime studio out there with masterpieces like JoJo's and Fire Force. So if you want a goofy yet emotional series that's gonna look and sound absolutely gorgeous, I cannot recommend Undead Unluck enough. But now that I've covered my personal favorite on the list, let's talk about the series that's been recommended to me. That series is 100 Girlfriends.
まさかこの二人が神様の言っていた俺の
There's at least a few romance series out this season, but my recommendation has to go to the 100 girlfriends who really love you. I won't lie, I checked out Girlfriend when it first came out, and it just wasn't for me. It's funny enough, and the characters are pretty cool, but it's very tropey, and the pacing isn't great in the beginning. 100 Girlfriends, on the other hand, seems to be the talk of the town. Essentially, the main character gets rejected when he confesses to his crush. So before high school starts, he prays at a shrine and asks to finally meet his girlfriend. The god of the shrine appears and tells him that not only will he meet his one girl, but he will meet 100 girls at school. The catch? If he doesn't date any one of the girls, then that girl will die. So, straightforward enough. Boy suddenly goes from no girls at all to now all the girls want him. Nothing crazy, nothing super serious. Just your typical rom-com anime with a bizarre gimmick. Like I said before, fans of the manga claim that this series is hilarious, so hopefully it's something that lives up to those expectations. To add to that, the anime is being done by Baibury Studios, who also did the second season of the Quintessential Quintuplets. So at the very least, they have a proven track record of delivering quality rom-com anime. So if that's what you're looking for this season, 100 Girlfriends is definitely worth checking out. But it's not the only comedy out this season. As a matter of fact, there's a show returning this season that has already proven it's got something to offer for everyone. Of course, I'm talking about the second season of Spy Family. As you probably know by now, Spy Family is a spy series with a heavy mix of romance, comedy, and plenty of action. It follows the story of Lloyd, aka Twilight, who is tasked with forging a fake family in order to infiltrate an elite school. His fake family, the Forgers, consists of Anya, his adopted daughter with psychic abilities who loves spy movies, and his wife, Yor, who's actually a master assassin. The story follows this fake family as they work towards getting Anya into school and finding out what it means to be a real family. Each episode consists of the characters falling into all kinds of chaotic, wacky hijinks where everything goes wrong, but somehow always ends on a wholesome note as everything somehow turns out alright. It's no surprise this series became as popular as it is, as it became a mainstream success almost overnight and is currently standing as one of the most iconic anime of this generation. Like I said before, with the story built on familiar sitcom comedy that's tragic, intense, and emotional, Spy Family is something that anyone can get into. And this continues to be true in Season 2. In the arcs following Season 1, Season 2 has a ton of exciting content to adapt, including but not limited to Yor's mission to protect a crime family aboard a cruise ship full of assassins, and Lloyd's long-awaited backstory that shows us how and why he became a spy. Spy Family promises to deliver everything that made Season 1 an instant classic and more. So if you already love the show and you're looking for more, or you missed Season 1 and you're looking for an excuse to catch up, then make sure to check out Season 2. But now it's time to move on to the last show on the list. I've covered a battle shonen, a rom-com, a spy series, and a fantasy, but I still have another fantasy left. And if you pay any attention to the manga community, then you already know that this show has been highly anticipated for a while now. That show is, of course, Frieran. Frieran is a series that everyone has something good to say about, and its release could not have been more perfectly timed. Whereas Shangri-La Frontier is your more typical fantasy where the world is an open canvas and the sky is the limit, Frieran tells the story after the quest is complete and the adventure has come to an end. It starts out with the usual premise. A party of adventurers, including our main character, an elf mage by the name of Frieran, go off on a quest to stop the Demon King. Their quest leads them on adventures for years and years until they eventually find and defeat the Demon King and finally go back home. And this is usually where the story ends, but in Frieran, this is where it begins. Once the party returns home, they all go their separate ways and grow old. Except for Frieran. Because she is an elf, this whole years-long quest thing felt like just a week to her. But while she lives on, her party members grow old and pass away, leaving her behind. Now, left with one of their apprentices, Frieran is tasked with training the apprentice to become a mage as she retraces her quest and realizes how much she valued her friends and how little time she actually had with them. It's for this reason why I'm really looking forward to Frieran. Like I said before, it's the perfect contrast to a story like Shangri-La Frontier, as it covers the overlooked aspect of fantasy stories and spends time exploring the idea of life after the adventure. It's the same reason that it was made one of the leading candidates in the Manga of the Year stream last year. On top of that, the anime is being done by Madhouse, so if the trailers haven't already convinced you, this anime promises to be gorgeous. Admittedly, I can't speak much more to the story as I haven't read it myself yet, but I do plan on reading some of it before the anime comes out. As a matter of fact, I'll be uploading a video with my full thoughts later this week. But for now, all I can say is that if you want a fantasy series with a unique spin that everyone loves, then you cannot afford to miss So no Frieran. And that's it. Those are my recommendations for the fall season. Obviously, I only picked 5 shows, so I'm sure there's a few that I probably missed. So, share your picks for the season down below. I'll pick my favorite and share it as comment of the week on my community tab. And if you don't want to miss that Frieran video, make sure to subscribe and follow my recommendations playlist. In it, you can also find my video on Undead Unluck where I go more in depth on why that series is underrated. Like I said, more unpuns. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon.